Hola! Welcome to my channel. My name is Alejandra and I'm a Mexican knitting in Scotland. And today I'm sharing with you some beautiful pointelle knitting patterns. Hi, I hope you're doing well. In this channel, I like to document my journey as a beginner knitter, and I also like to share some patterns I find inspirational. So today's video is all about pointelle lace patterns. I don't know if your algorithm is anything like mine, but I've been seeing pointelle everywhere, all over my feed. It's not only for hand-knitted garments, but I've also been seeing it in commercial garments. So if you don't know, pointelle is this delicate, lightweight knit fabric, which features tiny little holes across all the fabric and repeated patterns or these little motifs in the shape of either little diamonds or flowers or chevron, little triangle or some geometrical shapes, and it features them all over the fabric. Traditionally, for commercial garments, this fabric is really thin and the holes are super tiny. And this type of knitted fabric has become super popular recently, even though it's not a new type of technique or a new type of fabric. In fact, has been around for many years. And I have been noticing that this year a lot of designers are coming up with new patterns featuring this type of fabric. So in this video, I'm featuring more than 20 patterns, and I have created a Ravelry bundle that will be linked in the description below. But there's a couple of patterns that haven't been released yet, so I will be including them as soon as they come out. I do have timestamps all over the video, so if you're interested in a particular pattern or in a particular section, you can just jump ahead. So for me, it all started with the Marielle blouse, which was the inspiration behind this video. And I've been dreaming about casting on that blouse, but because I have so many projects in my needles, it'll have to wait a little bit. In fact, I do have some yarn coming over, and I can't wait to cast that on. I have my laptop here with me, so I will be looking down just to check the information about all the patterns. Because I do have more than 20 patterns featured in this video, I have categorized them per collection and per designer, so that way it doesn't become too lengthy. And without further ado, let's get started. So the first pattern, of course, has to be the Marielle Collection, which was the whole inspiration for this video. And it is a collection created by Marielle Verden. And she currently has 3 patterns featuring this design. So she has the blouse, which was, I believe, the original pattern. I actually don't know if the blouse or the shawl was the first one that was created, but she had those ones before, and this year she just came out with the cardigan version, and then she's also coming up in the summer with a top version, with a tank top version. So for the cardigan and the blouse, they're both in DK weight, which is fingering plus lace. And the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive, Merino, and Soft Silk Mohair. It comes in 6 sizes, ranging from bust size of 95 centimeters to 155. And also the shawl comes in 4 different sizes, which comes with a bandana, a neck scarf, a small shawl, and a large shawl. And the top will be released in mid-June. I would say this pattern, the difficulty is classified between an adventurous beginner or an intermediate. I do love this pattern. As I said, the whole inspiration behind this video was the Marielle blouse, and I already own the pattern, and I'm planning to cast it on as soon as I have time to do it. And I also really like the cardigan. In fact, I was hesitating between both, and I do like the sleeves in the cardigan better, because the blouse comes with these more flowy sleeves that I do like, but when they don't cinch in the cuff, I do find them a little bit unpractical. I'm also really excited to see the details of the tank top that is coming up, because I do think it looks super beautiful. And next, we have another super popular collection, which is the Vilma Collection by Gregoria Fibers. She does have 2 patterns in this collection. One is cardigan, and the other one is a top or a vest. Like the top is iron weight, and the cardigan is DK weight, which features DK plus lace. It comes in 8 available sizes to fit bust circumference from 80 to 140 centimeters for the cardigan, and 80 and 125 centimeters for the top. I do wish it came in more available sizes, so it's not really size inclusive, but I've seen this pattern knitted in many different variations, and especially for the top, I even have seen people knitting it with summer fiber, such as Sandnes Garn Line, and I think they are all really beautiful versions. And the difficulty, according to the designer, is 1 out of 3 for the cardigan and a 2 out of 3 for the top. And next, it is the Fleur Collection by Brianna Mason, which features 3 different patterns. One is a tank top, another one is the short sleeve tee, and then there's also a neck scarf. They're all in fingering weight, and the patterns require a knowledge of knitting, purling, both flat and in the round, lace knitting, reading charts, decreasing, picking up stitches, German short rows, seaming, tubular cast on, and tubular band off. One of the things I saw observations about this pattern that may make it a little bit more difficult is that it's knitted bottom up, so it does become more difficult to try it on. But I have seen versions of this top and they're all super beautiful. So I think this little motif is super beautiful and very in line with the whole pointelle trend. The scarf is knitted in the flat and requires an I-cord edging, and increases and decreases. So perhaps this one is a little bit more approachable. So if you really like this kind of pattern, perhaps and you're not super confident with your knitting, perhaps you can start with the next scarf. And for the garments, it comes in 9 sizes for both, and ranging from 74.5 centimeters to 155 centimeters of finished bust circumference. And next, we have a new collection, which is the Cosmopolitan Collection by Tori Yu, and it features 2 patterns. One is a shawl and the other one is a tee. I think the combination of both is super beautiful, and something I really like about Tori Yu is that she always has a discount for buying patterns from the same collection. So if you buy the tee, you get 50% off for the shawl. They're both knitted in fingering weight, and the suggested yarn is a sock yarn. There's no information about the difficulty because it's quite a new pattern, but I would say perhaps it's more of an intermediate difficulty because it does come in a very small gauge. Or if you're an adventurous beginner, you can go ahead and try. The good thing about this is that the pattern is only on the sleeves, and the rest of the garment will be all in stockinette, so it's not too much lace. And another really cool feature that I like about this tee is the construction is super interesting, and it's a simultaneous setting sleeve method, and I think it does give a really neat finish around the shoulders. It comes in 9 sizes, ranging from 81.5 centimeters to 162 centimeters. And next, we have the Bonbon Collection by Mere Knits. It features 3 patterns. One is a short sleeve cardigan, the other one is a long sleeve cardigan, which I believe was just released, and then she also has a scarf, a triangular scarf. They're both knitted in sport weight. This is a Korean designer, so the sizes are not really size inclusive, unfortunately. It only comes in 6 available sizes, ranging from bust circumferences of 98.5 centimeters to 136 centimeters. It's quite a relaxed fit. I do wish they came with more available sizes, but I feel like this is very common with Korean designers. Perhaps as they are becoming more popular, they will start including more sizes. And the difficulty is meant to be a 2 out of 5, so it's more of an intermediate or an adventurous beginner, like most of these patterns. And next we have a 2-in-1 pattern, which is the Mabel made Meadow cardigan and vest by Famke, also known as Mipi the Label. I do really like that this designer often includes modifications for her patterns, and they're all included in one. So you only pay the price of one, but then you get to include some modifications. This pattern is an Aran weight with a combination of a worsted plus fingering alpaca silk. The pattern comes with two files, one for the vest and one for the cardigan, but the designer does make a note that the vest was not test knitted, but is slight modifications from the cardigan. It comes in 10 available sizes, ranging from bust circumference of 70 centimeters to 160 centimeters. And the difficulty for this one is a 3 out of 5, so more of an intermediate level garment. The skills needed for this pattern are lace cables and reading from charts. It features also German short rows and an I-cord seat stitch. This designer is also coming up with a posy pointelle skirt and top that are coming up this summer. So I'm really excited to see these. I will pop up some pictures there from her social media because I have been following the process of the design. I believe the skirt has already been tested and is in the process of the final touches, and the top is just gonna be test knitted. The skirt is coming up in July, and the top is still TBD. There's no announced date yet. The next pattern is Pointelle by Emily Louis, and it's a DK weight pattern with fingering plus lace, so the typical merino plus mohair combination. It comes in 9 available sizes for finished bust circumference ranging from 93 centimeters to 158 centimeters. It does have the pointelle detail in the front, and it features an optional I-cord little tie belt. The difficulty of this one will be more of an intermediate one, and I do think it's really beautiful that unlike the other patterns, this one is all concentrated within the center. So perhaps if you like to experiment a little bit with pointelle, but you don't like an all-over pointelle garment, this is a good option. And next we have this beautiful vintage looking blouse, which is a Margot Blouse by Fable Knitwear. I believe it's Fable or Fable Knitwear. It is a fingering weight garment with 9 sizes available, ranging from 81 centimeters to 175 centimeters. The difficulty of this one is more of an intermediate advance. It does feature a more intricate construction. The recommended yarn is wool for some elasticity for the way it's just a fitted garment, and the way the sleeves are shaped, and also the little ruffle around the neck. I think it does require some elasticity of the fabric. The designer does mention that some of the test knitters tried cotton, but it didn't hold as well, so she should suggest to use some wool instead. And then moving on to some Pointelle tees. The first one on this list is the Dain Tee by Celine Phaeton. It is a light fingering weight garment. The recommended yarn is the Knitting for Olive cotton merino. It comes in 10 available sizes, ranging from 75 centimeters to 165. The difficulty of this garment, it does look more of an intermediate advanced level required. It features a saddle set-in sleeve, which is super interesting. I like the way how the pointelle design comes all the way from the shoulder, like the neckline starts in the neckline and then all along the shoulder, and then it carries along the sleeve. I think it's a super fine detail that gives it just an elevated look to this tee. And if you see, all the details are really, really well curated. If you see the neckline, and then the hem is a folded neck, not the neck, the hem is a folded hem. So I think all the finishing touches give this a super elevated look. The next pattern is the short tee by Anne Benzel. I'm not 100% sure this could be classified as pointelle, but it does feature little tiny eyelets and lines which I've been talking about. So because it fits with the whole vibe of the video, I decided to include it. This is a DK pattern and available in 5 sizes, which is not that great. It only ranges from 94 centimeters to 129 centimeters. And it was released in April 2023. The difficulty for this pattern is a 2 out of 3. But I do have a similar pattern that was just released and is more size inclusive coming up. So, which is the next one is the Terrace Tee by Lily Kate France, which is one of my favorite designers. I'm actually knitting one of her garments currently, and I'm really enjoying it because I think she does pay attention a lot of the fit, and it includes a lot of shaping in her designs, at least from the experience I have with the one I'm currently working on. And this Terrace Tee is a DK weight, and the recommended yarn is a Merino nylon 50% yarn. It comes in 9 available sizes, ranging from 71 centimeters to 158 centimeters. So again, a little more size inclusive. And it does feature these vertical lines and with the little eyelets, which is very similar to the one I mentioned before. But this is a different construction. This is more of a compound raglan construction, which is really good. I feel like it gives it a really nice fit around the shoulders. And the neckline is also a little bit different than the one before. It was just released in May 2026, so there's not that much information about the difficulty, but I believe it mentions it's a 2 out of 3. And the last on these tee patterns is the Rosa top, which has not been released, but it will be the first pattern by Home.Viv or Viv the Wooligan. I found this pattern on Instagram, and I believe it is currently test knitted, and it will be the first pattern by this designer. So I didn't find that much information about it on Ravelry, but I found it on Instagram, and I know it's coming up, and it's a super beautiful pattern, so I wanted to include it. It is a fingering weight, and the recommended yarn is Knitting for Olive Merino. The difficulty, again, there's not much information, but just from looking at the pictures and the videos available, I would say it's more of an adventurous beginner to an intermediate, perhaps, because it does look quite fitted, and so it will require for you to choose the correct size, and also perhaps just the little details will require more of an intermediate level. And then moving on to a couple of tank tops. The first one is the Dain top by Paula Narkiniemi. Sorry if I'm butchering the name. It features these double knitted straps, and it's a fingering weight available in 11 sizes ranging from 74 centimeters to 156 centimeters. This is also meant to be an intermediate difficulty, perhaps because of the double knitted straps, and it was also just released in April 2026. Next, we have another very popular pattern that was released recently, and it's the Petite Pointelle tank by Jessie Med Design. It is a sport weight, and the yarn that she used for this one is the Wonder Flock Cotton Lino, which I thought it was a super interesting combination or super interesting blend of fibers. It is 35% Pima cotton, 30% mulberry silk, 20% linen, and 50% baby alpaca, which I think will give it a beautiful drape. And in fact, you can see it from the pictures, it does look super beautiful. It comes in only 6 available sizes, ranging from 84 centimeters to 167 centimeters. It does say it's size inclusive, but I don't know how six sizes could fit the majority of people, but I guess it does have a large range. So perhaps you might have the problem here that you are between sizes and you will have to either size up or size down. The pattern was just released in April 2026. And one thing I really like about this pattern is all the details around the armholes that have this really fine design that I believe is also achieved by the little eyelets, and it follows the armhole perfectly. So I think these little details really, again, elevate the pattern. And it also features like a scallop hem that I also think is super beautiful. And then moving on to some accessories, just in case the garments look a little bit intimidating. Most of those patterns are categorized as intermediate, and perhaps you don't have a lot of experience with lace, or you would like to experiment this technique in a smaller project with smaller stakes. So I do have some accessories featured here. So the first one I have is a couple of scarves by Lisa Haynes. It's the Claire scarf and the Little Bird scarf. In fact, this designer has a bunch of beautiful scarves, and a lot of them feature these little eyelid motifs that go very well with the Pointelle theme. But I decided to choose these two because I think they're the most likely approaching the whole Pointelle inspiration. So the first one has this little flower motif with the vertical lines, and then the other one has also the vertical lines, but it has the little chevron motifs all across the scarf. It also has garter stitch edge, which prevents the rolling, and it comes with a triangular shape, but it's more of an elongated triangular shape. So I really like this. This has been on my radar for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to having the time to knit one of these because I do love small scarves. And then the next one is an exciting one because it's a free pattern and it's quite unique. It is the Pointelle tie scarf. It's a light fingering weight, and it features this little diamond motifs all over the tie. And then it also has, I believe it's ribbing, some sort of ribbing or maybe a tighter gauge stockinette. I can't really see from the pictures, but so that it creates a little cinch where you can use it to tie the tie scarf. So I think this is a good pattern if you're looking to try a little bit of Pointelle lace and see if you like it before you invest in buying a pattern. And next, I have the Little Flower Scarf by Esther Puente. It's a fingering weight, and it features also these garter edges. This is more of a traditional triangular shape, which has been super popular this year as well. And it features the flower motifs all over the triangular scarf. This also has been on my radar for a long time, and it's another one that I would like to eventually knit. And next, we have another free pattern. It is the Pointelle Triangular Shawl by Joanna Skuljok. Sorry if I'm butchering the name again. It's a DK weight, although I believe you can adjust it to any yarn you have available. Same with the rest of the scarf, but the recommended yarn is for DK. It is more of a beginner size. So again, another really good candidate if you would like to start and see if you like this type of knitting. It does mention that the size and the gauge is easily adaptable. And I do think it applies for most scarves. Like you can use any available yarn as long as it has a similar drape, so you can enjoy the design pattern that it was intended to be. And then next, I do have a few sock patterns. The first one is the Forbidden Fruit by Anne Hansen. And they do look like strawberries. They're so cute. It is a fingering size pattern. It comes in 4 available sizes, and the difficulty, it does say that it's beginner friendly. It is a top-down short row construction. And I do think they do super beautiful. They just remind me of strawberries, and they look super summery, and I love them. The next one is another one I love, Fleur Socks by Laura McLean. It's a light fingering. It comes in 3 sizes. It features a heel flap and gusset and Kitchener stitch, so it's more of a intermediate difficulty, and I do really love the ruffle on top. And then finally, the Pointelle Socks by Marie-Eve Wedge. It is a fingering weight, again, 4 sizes available, and the difficulty is a 2 out of 5, and it comes with a video tutorial for the folded scallop cuff. You need to be able to read basic lace chart, and it features a heel flap and gusset and a wedge toe. So those are all the patterns I have to share with you. As I mentioned, for the ones that haven't been released, I will be adding them to the bundle once they come available on Ravelry, but I do have the link in the description below. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video inspirational. Please let me know in the comments which one was your favorite pattern. Are you also obsessed with Pointelle this season? Let me know. Also, if you like this type of videos, I do have 2 other pattern roundups. One is featuring spring patterns that are inspired in cherry blossom, where I do talk about this sweater that I'm wearing, which is the Frederick sweater by Colibri by Johanna. So you can go ahead and check it out if it's something that is interesting to you. And the other video I have is for beginner-friendly cardigans. So if you like this video, I do invite you to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on upcoming pattern roundups, and also so you can hear about all my current knitting projects. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!